2023 under the theme Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. We are honored to have with us here today ambassadors, representatives of ESCAP member states, heads of UN agencies, civil society organizations, and our youth ambassadors for a day. Thank you for joining, and happy International Women's Day to all of you. I would also like to welcome the large number of online participants who are currently viewing this event through live streaming. Excellencies, distinguished participants, as we have ushered in a new digital era, the ways in which we live are being transformed overnight. There is no doubt that these digital transformations and technological innovations are helping us in new ways, find new ways to support our efforts to advance gender equality. For example, online gig economy platforms allow women to take up flexible work while also balancing their unpaid care responsibilities. Or digital financial services allow women to cut down on their transportation and otherwise financial transaction time. However, while we recognize this immense potential of technology and innovation to advance gender equality, their gendered impacts are often overlooked. Women and girls face unique vulnerabilities and intersectional challenges in this digital world, such as lack of access to the internet, barriers to access tech-related sectors, and also we see a surge in online gender-based violence. Dear participants, this year's International Women's Day brings these critical and pressing issues into the spotlight. It's time for us to revisit the gendered impact of technologies and innovations, and to make sure that they are used to eliminate, not perpetuate, gender inequality. Our regional commemoration will now commence with a message from the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, on the occasion of International Women's Day 2023.
On International Women's Day, we celebrate the achievements of women and girls across all walks of life in all corners of the world. But we also recognize the enormous obstacles they face, from structural injustices, marginalization, and violence, to cascading crises that affect them first and worst, to denial of their personal autonomy and rights over their bodies and lives. Gender-based discrimination harms everyone, women, girls, men, and boys. International Women's Day is a call to action, actions to stand with women while demanding their fundamental rights at great personal cost. Action to strengthen protection against sexual exploitation and abuse, and action to accelerate women's full participation and leadership. This year's theme stresses the need for technology and innovation to advance gender equality. Technology can expand pathways to education and opportunities for women and girls, but it can also be used to amplify abuse and hatred. Today, women make up under a third of the workforce in science, technology, engineering, and maths. And when women are underrepresented in developing new technologies, discrimination may be baked in from the start. That is why we must close the digital divide and increase the representation of women and girls in science and technology. Women's exclusion from the digital world has shaved an estimated $1 trillion from the GDP of low and middle income countries in the last decade, a loss that could grow to $1.5 trillion by 2025 without action. Investing in women uplifts all people, communities, and countries. Let us work together across governments, the private sector, and civil society to build a more inclusive, just, and prosperous world for women, girls, men, and boys everywhere.
Excellencies, dear participants, as we appreciate our Secretary General's unwavering commitment to gender equality in the United Nations and beyond, it is my pleasure to now introduce to you ESCAP's Executive Secretary, Her Excellency Ibu Amida Salsia Alishabana, to deliver her opening remarks. Ibu Amida, please, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, ambassadors, colleagues, distinguished participants, and especially ambassadors for a day from all over Thailand. Very warm welcome to you all on this very special day. We have come together on this International Women's Day to celebrate the power and prowess of women to harness the benefits of innovation and technological change, and to explore how we can work together to accelerate progress and achieve gender equality in the digital age. We see the benefits of technology and innovation accelerate around us, from the conveniences of online shopping to the efficiencies created by AI or artificial intelligence. Our world becomes more interconnected by the day, and technology allows us to get closer to each other, communicate faster, and learn more quickly of news from around the world. Yet, the distance between the haves and have-nots continues to increase, and we see through data how the socio-economic gaps widen and deepen by the day, leaving the most vulnerable parts of our population, especially women and girls, behind. This year's theme, Digital for All, or DigitAll, is shortened, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, asks us to consider how we can make the best use of technology and innovation to ensure that we move forward in a more inclusive and equitable manner, keeping in mind the hurdles many women and girls face in realizing their full potential. Our digital spaces are not yet gender neutral and gender inclusive. Access to the benefits of technological innovations has been unequal across the region. In low and middle income countries, women are about 20% less likely than men to own, for example, a smartphone or to use the internet on a mobile device. The challenges women and girls face in the digital age are many and intersecting. May I highlight just a few of them quickly? Deeply entrenched gender biases and discriminatory social norms. That's one challenges. Second challenges is that the education system perpetuates stereotypes, especially pushing girls away from the so-called studying STEM, which stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subject. Women are also less likely to work in STEM sectors, contributing to innovations, failing to consider women's unique needs in their design. The large and growing gender digital divide prevents the region, or the countries in this matter, from benefiting from untapped talent in women and girls. It also further marginalizes those already in a vulnerable position and excludes them from sharing the benefits of digital transformation. To overcome all these challenges, we must take immediate and decisive actions to provide more robust and targeted policy support. We need policies aimed at increasing access by women and girls to technology and innovation. It is very encouraging to see new initiatives that aim to upgrade digital infrastructure and services. At the same time, we also must build more inclusive educational systems to increase female representation in STEM-related subjects. Education systems can and should integrate a gendered lens into all subjects and implement targeted programs to support girls' learning needs in STEM. We also need to support women entrepreneurs to start and grow businesses through the use of technology. Women entrepreneurs play a key role in developing economies and increasing their access to digital innovations. That will lead, certainly, our ultimate objective of sustainable and inclusive growth. We will hear more from women leaders on the panel today, who will share their inspiring stories in making a difference and creating a level playing field for women in the world of technology, which is the subject of this year, or the topic of this year, Women's International Day. Dear colleagues, participants, if we pair the untapped potential of women and girls, we will be able to take a giant step towards rectifying many of the inequalities and injustices created by generations past. Women have the know-how to harness technology and innovation. Again, given equal opportunities, they will flourish and contribute to create solutions to tackle the world's multifaceted challenges. Before closing, I would like to extend, once again, our appreciation and thanks to our sister here, UN-Women, for their close partnership in co-organizing this regional commemoration. I would also like to express my heartfelt appreciation to the Women's Ambassadors Group and the participating UN entities for their efforts in organizing, once again, the Ambassador for a Day initiative. On this International Women's Day, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to not only to leaving no one behind, of course, to leaving no one behind, but also we add to leaving no one offline because of the theme of this technology and AI and ICT related, and accelerating our efforts towards building a more secure, accessible, inclusive, and equitable digital world for all of us, and especially for women and girls in our region and countries in our region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your thoughtful remarks, Ibu Amida. You highlighted not only the unequal digital access across Asia and Pacific, but also the cost-cutting challenges that women and girls face. And you stressed the importance of more decisive policy actions, such as supporting women entrepreneurs, utilization of digital tools and technologies. Thank you, Madam Executive Secretary. Dear participants, I am now delighted to invite Ms. Sarah Nips, Regional Director AI of UN Women's Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific, to deliver her opening remarks. Ms. Nips, please, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, youth ambassadors, colleagues, fellow feminists, and gender advocates. Good morning and a warm welcome to this celebration of International Women's Day 2023. International Women's Day is an opportunity to celebrate how far women have come in political leadership, in the economy, in technology, and in society as a whole. This is a very important day for women and girls. It's an opportunity to highlight the crucial roles that women have played and the contributions that women and girls have made to transform the world into a more connected place. But the commemoration also recognizes the need to build a more secure, accessible, inclusive, and equitable gender equitable digital world for women, girls, and for all of us. Technology is now central to our everyday lives. Online experiences and opportunities are important for children and young people's development across a wide range of areas, including access to formal and informal learning, access to information and support related to health and well-being, being able to engage with their own creative and cultural practices, expressing their ideas and opinions for leisure, play, and connecting with their peers. It's also important in finding employment, career information, and opportunities to engage in entrepreneurship. Despite technology's potential to help women and girls attain better social and economic outcomes, the impacts of the digital revolution have been disproportionate and highly gendered. Not only are women underrepresented, underpaid, and often discriminated against across core innovation sectors, including science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but new technology also brings risk of perpetuating bias and possibilities for misuse, creating new human rights challenges for the 21st century. As Ibu Amida already highlighted, in our own region, we can see important examples of the inequalities. Only 54% of women in our region are accessing the internet at the moment. And a study by The Economist in 2020 suggested that 85% of the women who are online in Asia and Pacific have either witnessed or experienced acts of online violence. And this surely must be a statistic that's very worrying for all of us to hear. Statistics across the information and technology sector, from higher education to the workplace, paint a clear picture of the challenges that women do face in finding an equal footing in a career in IT. Disparities leading to gender equality in this sector are significant, and some of them are widening, including gaps and inequalities in education, employment, retention, workplace culture, representation, the impact of the pandemic, difficulty of engaging in entrepreneurial spaces, the gender pay gap and the glass ceiling. And finally, and most importantly, the gender gap in tech leadership. Digital products and services do need to be designed with and for women and girls in order to match their realities. So UN-Women has identified 3 areas as possible entry points for applying a gender lens. First, technology and innovation for women. This is where we need to develop science and technology that support women's development and livelihood activities. Secondly, women's role in technology and innovation, where we would like to promote gender equality in science, technology, engineering and mathematics education, careers and leadership. Thirdly, we need to look at encouraging and supporting the role and leadership of women in innovation systems at all levels. I want to highlight that women and girls are not passive actors in the face of these challenges. They are effective and powerful leaders and change makers. Looking around the room today, I see we're joined by young people taking part in the Ambassador for a Day and the 30 by 2030 initiatives. They are truly among the global agents of change. I'm really inspired by the young people that we have with us here today. Their video entries have demonstrated innovation, energy, and enthusiasm for harnessing the power of technology for gender equality and positive change. This afternoon, we will be organizing the GenderNet Bootcamp. It's a collaboration between UN-Women, UN-ESCAP, LinkedIn, and digital transformation and inclusion experts that will bring together technology innovators, entrepreneurs, feminists, and gender equality activists to highlight the different areas of women in tech, to provide career guidance, and offer foundational knowledge on online violence. I'd like to warmly invite all of you also to join the bootcamp, which will take place here at room MRA at 1 p.m. Also tomorrow, UN-Women will announce the second cohort of the 30 by 2030. This is a youth leadership network that brings together young innovators, decision makers, feminists, entrepreneurs, technology pioneers, educators, activists, artists, and sports champions. These are thought leaders determined to accelerate progress towards the 2030 agenda from a feminist perspective, to break down gender barriers and make gender equality a working reality in their spheres of influence. The network also acts as an advisory community and an accelerator of exceptional people with the vision, courage, and influence to drive positive change from the young generation for a gender-equal world. Before closing, I would like to very warmly thank all of our partners who are here today, especially UN-ESCAP under the leadership of Ibo Amida, the Women Ambassadors Group for the fantastic leadership of the Ambassadors for a Day initiative, and all of the UN sister agencies. Finally, I want to highlight that technology is a gateway to new public spaces, markets, and information, with major potential to boost women's economic activity and participation. I would like to ask all of you to imagine an Asia and Pacific where women and girls in all their diversity have equal opportunities to safely and meaningfully access, use, lead, and co-create technology with freedom of expression, joy, and boundless potential. I think it's a fair wish and a possible dream, and I hope we could all work together to help make it a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Nips, very much for your very inspiring remarks. I think indeed gender equality is a fair wish and a possible dream. And let me also take this opportunity to thank you and your team at UN-Women for our wonderful collaboration on this commemoration, as always. Dear participants, before concluding our opening session, we will now take a group photo. And I would like to ask our opening speakers to please step to the front of the stage and be joined most kindly by our ambassadors and our heads of UN agencies on the stage. Opening speakers, ambassadors, heads of UN agencies, please proceed to the stage for a group photo. From the very back rows, may I please ask you to move in front to keep filling up the empty spaces in the first 3 rows. Anybody else, may you kindly stay in your seats, stand up, and turn your face towards our camera person who will be looking down to us from the interpreter's booth. In-person participants may please stand up and turn around for the photographer who will look down to us from the interpreter's booth. Yeah.
Oh, is it with
Yeah, we will take I will do very quickly. Where is he? Where is UN-Women's photographer?
Supposed to be upstairs, right?
Thank you very much for your patience. We are going to take a quick snapshot here of our dignitaries to this event. ESCAP photographer, we are ready for the group photo on the main stage. Please, I'm going to do a countdown for you. 3, 2, 1. Happy International Women's Day. Seichis, thank you very much. May you please stay here for 1 moment longer while we are awaiting our other photographer to take the group photo. I think the photographer is not visible to us now. Where? Imad, where may I please check with you?
Should I run there?
Yeah, run. Okay, so we are having a little run up upstairs. Thank you for your patience. Very good. Okay. So I think that brought all the natural smiles out for a countdown to 3, 2, 1. Let's hold the smile for 20 seconds more. So we are just waiting for a thumbs up from our photographers. Final smiles, 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. You may take your seats once again. Excellencies, distinguished participants, we will now commence the segment on the 2023 edition of the Ambassadors for a Day competition. May I invite our moderator and speakers to take their seats at the rostrum, please. Over the past few years, this initiative has gained increasing popularity and influence, and it is attracting many high-caliber, very talented young people every year. Youth and future generations are the critical drivers of positive change. And through this year's initiative, we have encouraged youth to explore the gendered impacts of technological change and innovations, while demonstrating how young leaders can make a difference to the future of our increasingly inclusive and sustainable economies and societies. It's my pleasure to invite the co-organizer of the Ambassador for a Day initiative, Ms. Gita Sapawal, UN Resident Coordinator in Thailand, to moderate this session. Ms. Sapawal, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to join the International Women's Day celebration by moderating the Ambassador for a Day segment. Many thanks to you, Ibu Amida and Sarah, for bringing us together once again. This initiative is very close to my heart. We are advancing gender equality with women leaders in government, member states, and the UN to be the shadows for today to experience diplomacy and sustainable development in action. It also speaks to the intergenerational strengths that we can leverage to learn and inspire each other. We started this journey 3 years back at the height of the pandemic with a clarion call to enlist a new generation for the cause of increased equality, where equal participation is an inherent right for all. And Sarah, as you said, it's a fair wish. Today, we have 40 young people who have emerged as winners of Thailand's biggest ever creative contest in support of gender equality. With us today are emerging leaders, trailblazers, and creative minds who are championing equality as we even see it backsliding in many countries across the Asia and the Pacific. Each one is a testament of our collective commitment to mobilize young voices to be part of the long arc of history. Their ideations leverage AI, bodily rights, digital technology for advocacy and policy making. It is this innovative thinking that we need much more of to accelerate the SDGs. Let's give a big round of applause to the 40 ambassadors for a day who are here with us today. We are all very proud of you, as I said last evening. We will be hearing directly from them and getting a glimpse of their contribution by screening a video montage a little later. Let me start now by inviting Ambassador Dr. Angela MacDonald of Australia, the co-convener of this year's Ambassador for a Day initiative, to share her remarks. Ambassador Angela, I personally know that you are committed to gender equality, and so is your government. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Sawatika and good morning. Executive Secretary Ibu Amida, UN Resident Coordinator Geeta, Her Excellency Ambassador Exri of the Thai Ministry of Foreign Affairs, fellow ambassadors whose shoulders I stand on in this initiative today, Seville, Sarah and others, distinguished guests. It's my real pleasure to join you on International Women's Day. It's a celebration, thank you for the thoughtfully coloured flowers, of the sisterhood, of claiming our rightful place in shaping global affairs in fora such as this, of opportunity and how far we've come. It's a recognition of a sobering reality of how much there is to do. And as the UN Secretary General said, it's a call to action. I'm delighted to be here today with my youth representative and shadow, Kunsachi, through the Ambassador for a Day initiative, and again, just wowed by the contributions that all of not only the winners, but everybody who participated made in addressing the theme of this year's International Women's Day, Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, which recognises and celebrates the women and girls who are championing the advancement of inclusive technology and digital education. It draws attention to how unequal access to digital technologies is further widening economic and social inequalities, and spotlights the importance of protecting and promoting the human rights of women and girls in digital spaces. We live in a digital world, and yet as Sarah's statistics regretfully showed, women and girls continue to be excluded from participating fully in the digital age and in science and technology. And at the same time, women and girls are subjected to technology-facilitated gender-based violence, which threatens their rights, safety, and well-being. As we look to address these issues, we have to find ways to leverage innovation and technology to advance gender equality and progress the rights, health, security, and empowerment of women and girls and persons of diverse gender identities. Central to this is safe and reliable access to online technology for all, inclusive education to improve digital literacy, societies which provide equal opportunities for people of all genders to learn, work and engage in STEM, education and careers, robust measures to protect women and girls from all forms of technology-facilitated violence, abuse and harassment. Australia is deeply committed to promoting gender equality. Our Foreign Minister in February this year announced Australia is developing a new international gender equality strategy, and gender equality will remain a key priority of our new international development policy. Australia will continue to work with partners to end all forms of sexual and gender-based violence, to advance women's economic empowerment, leadership and decision-making, improve women's and girls' access to education and health services, and implement the Women, Peace and Security agenda. As our Foreign Minister, Senator the Honourable Penny Wong, has said, gender equality is the right thing to do, and it's the necessary thing to do for peace, stability and prosperity in our region. As we mark International Women's Day, it's been my privilege to co-host the Ambassador Day initiative this year. As I said, thrilled to receive more than 260 video applications from passionate, enthusiastic, hopeful young people, and to hear their views on the different ways we can leverage digital technology and innovation to advance gender equality. I know that my fellow ambassadors and leaders of UN agencies share my delight in being able to participate in this Ambassador for a Day initiative. These young people are experiencing firsthand a day in the life of an ambassador. It's not like this every day. And seeing into the world of international relations and sustainable development. I'm learning as much from them as I hope they are learning from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Angela. And thank you for reminding us that gender equality is the right thing to do and the necessary thing to do. Let's move on, and let me now invite Ambassador Iksiri, Director General, International Organizations, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Thailand. Let me now invite you to share your perspective and Thailand's perspective on how they plan to leverage digitization in support of gender equality. Over to you, Ambassador Iksiri.
Thank you, Madam Kita. Excellency, Madam Executive Secretary Amida Sasya Aris-Jabana, Kun Kita Sabrawal, UN Resident Coordinator, Ambassador McDonald, and Excellencies, and all the young ambassadors this year, and distinguished participants. On behalf of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Thailand, my colleagues here, Director General Kanchana, and I are very privileged to join this event to commemorate the International Women's Day today. We would like to take this opportunity to thank the UN ESCAP and UN-Women for organizing this important event. And having met with the this year Ambassador of the Day for the day at the reception last night, kindly hosted by Ambassador Sibyl of Belgium, was truly an impressive experience, as I believe that they will continue to flourish and become our agents of change, representing the credible voice of the future. I would also like to take this opportunity to express our appreciation again to all the co-hosts, particularly the UN-Women, Embassy of Australia, Embassy of Belgium, as well as all the participating diplomatic missions and UN entities for continuing this Ambassador for the Day initiative, for which the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Thailand is honored to take part in for the first time this year, and will continue to join next year. This year's theme on the importance of digital innovation and technology for gender equality is very timely. In particular, the past few years of COVID-19 pandemics saw the remarkable rise in the use of digital innovation and technology, which had helped us get through the critical period and move on to facilitate economic and social activities under the new normal. While the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the vulnerabilities of global health system, it has also shown us how powerful digital innovation and technology can be, and Thailand has utilized digital technology in many respects to reach out to and to empower those furthest behind, including women and girls. The examples is clear in terms of the utilizations of health technology. During the pandemic, the use of telemedicines and mobile phone application has expanded accessibility of health services by making them more speedily available and gender responsive to patients, while also allowing medical personnel to treat more patients online and allocate more time to patients that need more intensive and in-person care. And with technology, many social protection and welfare schemes in Thailand managed to reach out more to the target groups online and register more people qualified to receive support from the government. The expanded government's database and more detailed information of people that need social support and protection will also help government in designing future economic and social measures and programs that are more responsive to their specific needs. And in addition, digital technology has helped expand opportunities and widen access to education, as has been mentioned earlier by many speakers, for various groups of people in the society, including women and girls, many of whom were left behind partly due to family responsibilities, culture, and various constraints. Many transformative education, such transformative education has empowered women economically, allowing them to learn, reskill, and upskill with more flexible pathway and financial policy incentives. And in this regard, Thailand continues to promote female STEM education. The draft plan of action on women development specifies measures to support STEM education and work for women and girls, with the focus on addressing opportunity gaps, including by encouraging them to take up STEM courses. And relevant agencies also cooperate with international partners, including the UN ESCAP and the ILO, the ITU, to further advancing this goal, including through workshops and vocational training. For instance, the Ministry of Labor of Thailand has partnered with the ILO to provide training for female labor, aiming to increase number of women employed in STEM industries. The project has trained around 15,000 female electricians in 2019 and around 600 in 2020. Excellencies and distinguished participants, while the digital revolution has represented us with opportunities to advance women's rights and gender equality, at the same time it has also brought about emerging challenges as we strive to address its unintended impact on those excluded with limited access to technology and increasing risk of exploitation via misinformation and online scams that leaves those vulnerable even further behind. We recognize that many more need to be done to fully enhance the benefits of digital innovation and technology for gender equality, while at the same time managing to cope with the relevant challenges related to misinformation, cybercrime, online scams, and so on, to ensure their safety use. And this needs continued joint efforts at various levels and partners to provide appropriate policy support to enhance awareness raising as well as empowering all those in the society. And with this, I also hope partly that our ambassador for the day today will also provide us with a strong voice at advocating for greater inclusive and gender equality societies in their communities and beyond. And I look forward to listening to their views and bringing some of their suggestions and greater ideas into our work. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Iksiri, and thank you for sharing with us the gendered approaches being adopted by the government of Thailand, from telemedicine to social protection to upskilling women in the STEM industry. Let's move on, and let me now invite one of our 40 winners, Kun Sanchi. Kun Sanchi, who's a high school student from Bangkok. Can you share with us, and before I get there, she is the shadow for Ambassador Angela. Can you share with us your reflections on how we can make the online spaces that are there safe for all, especially for young people like yourselves? The floor is yours, Kun Sanchi.
Thank you, United Nations Coordinator Gita Saprawal. Australian Ambassador to Thailand, Dr. Angela MacDonald, Director General, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Eksiri Bintaruchi. And good morning, ambassadors, UN agency heads, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and my fellow shadows. My name is Sajibing Sutiwong from the Ambassador for a Day competition. Have you ever noticed how different life was before online technology? As a secondary school student, I will be sharing my reflection on the impact technology has on youth, specifically young women. Technology is beneficial to young women in many ways, including easier access to education, technologies like e-medical supporting abused victims, or using innovations like artificial intelligence to collect sexual abuse evidence online, which can make law enforcement more efficient. The downside of technology, however, is the risk of safety and sexual harassment to young women. I have a personal experience of being inappropriately approached by a stranger online. The way he phrased his messages makes me feel very uncomfortable. Incidents like these and its consequences appears very often in the news in more serious and extreme ways. So, what can we do to make online spaces safer for young women? Personally, two things stood out for me. First, we can be a voice in raising awareness about the safety risks. If young women are more aware that online harassment happens more often than we think, we can be more careful. Next is focusing on what we can control, which is ourselves, our skills, our digital literacy. Every day we are faced with huge amount of information in different online platforms. Critical thinking skills can help us analyze and evaluate what could be a risk to our safety, such as messages we receive online. Communication skills can also help us carry ourselves safely online. For example, not posting everything about yourself on social media, including your photos, your personal information, and more. Overall, should we raise awareness and enhance our skills, we can make the virtual world safer for young women and for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunsachi. Let us now invite Kunrachida. Lovely to have you here, Kunrachida. She's a graduate. She's just graduated from high school, from Konkan University. And Kunrachida is going to share with us 3 things that she would like institutions like the UN to do more of, to leverage technology in support of green education. So over to you, Kunrachida.
Thank you so much. And hello, my name is Ranjita Rojanankit. I am a fresh high school graduate from Konkan Vithayayon School from Konkan, Thailand. And I believe that many challenges today, many social challenges today, young people are affected no less than adults, and their voices should be heard. So young people should be included in policy-making processes. And how can we do that? We need to give them opportunities. But as someone from Konkan myself, it's very difficult to find opportunities because most of the times they're concentrated in the capital. What can we do? How can we leverage the online and technology to help young people reach these opportunities and follow their passions? We can have an online platform where we can collect sources, opportunities, activities, and projects. And these projects, let youths lead. This is my suggestion to the United Nations. Let young people lead. Let them design projects that will help them connect to more young people and bring them to become inspired and engaged in policy making. And to include different communities, from the LGBTQ+ communities, young people with disabilities, and have an inclusive platform. For example, we could have an online discussion on climate action where young people come together and join and make sure that policy researchers listen to the voices of young people. And lastly, make youth in policy making a norm. Partner with different entities and make sure that in every policy research, in every policy making, there's a seat for young people and make sure that these networks sustain, last, and make sure that youths are connected and inspire them and let them know that young people, as much as anyone, can. Thank you so much.
Kun Sachida, thank you very much. The message that I take away is let young people lead and ensure that policy teams, there is space for a young person to be part of such policy teams that we at the UN pull together. Thank you very much. Well noted. Let's move on. And now we are going to show you the video montage that demonstrates the contributions of each of the 40 winners that our team, together with the Australian team, had identified. Over to you. Over to Teddy for playing the video montage.
Technology can be a powerful tool for women to become activists and lead change. เราต้องใช้โซเชียลมีเดียในการสร้างภาพลักษณ์สร้างแนวคิดใหม่ให้ทุกคนรู้ว่าผู้หญิงไม่ใช่เพศที่ต้องอยู่บ้านแล้วก็ไม่ได้รับการศึกษา
You can engage in any social issues just by listening to those who need to be heard.
Create a safer environment for everyone, no matter their gender.
Sheds light on the injustice that happens in the world.
I created a podcast channel where we use cultural discourses to analyze pop culture, and we're planning to create another one in Thai.
นำทักษะด้านเทคโนโลยีสารสนเทศสร้างแอปพลิเคชันเพื่อช่วยเหลือสาวประเภท 2
The platform for over 3,000 students to connect directly to psychologists via online small talk consulting.
Through the BIE card game concept last year, I conducted a dialogue among different backgrounds of gender and beliefs to discuss about abortion and women's role in the deep south of Thailand.
Prevent other girls from being the victim. Having realized the importance of women's reproductive health, I also use mobile phone to create a website and Facebook page called Banglak, which is a one-stop service that provides all information regarding women pregnancy.
Tool like hashtag. It allows individuals from all over the world to rise up and be heard.
People who don't realize they're being discriminated can see it and they can think that, oh, like, I have my own rights, like, I have my own agency. There's something that I deserve, which is not in the place I am.
Studies further reported 52% of young women globally have experienced some form of digital harm.
If the school cannot be a safe space to talk about sex, then the next learning field for them is the internet.
It is about bringing that innovation into the hands of people who truly need it.
By representing women in a more politically correct and human way.
Let's use technology to accelerate the gender equality.
Do not be afraid to speak up.
We shouldn't have to wait for International Women's Day to make sure that our voices are heard.
I can do it. Men can do it. Women can also do it. We can do it together.
All genders deserve equality, and we're all are human.
Now, as we wrap up this segment, I want to give the floor to some of the women ambassadors who are joining us today to share with us, in one sentence, their secret to success. And I'm sure that their insights will be a source of inspiration for all the young change makers who are joining us here this morning. Let me start with Ambassador Muna of Bahrain. Over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, and happy Women's Day for all women and girls, and all those who support women and girls. Upon your request, what is the elements for success? I always believe in this quote that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So always be prepared. So efficiency, commitment, and constituency are vital for success. And since speaking of women empowerment and advancement, just take this opportunity to highlight the generous initiative to dedicate a national day for Bahraini women was adopted 14 years ago by Her Royal Highness Princess Sabika bint Ibrahim Al Khalifa, wife of His Majesty King Hamad and President of the Supreme Council for Women, coinciding with the 80th anniversary of formal education in Bahrain. And this progressive reforms of His Majesty the King, supported by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, aided Her Royal Highness Princess Sabika to have helped women reach a distinguished level of progress, empowerment, and advancement in Bahrain at the local, regional, and international levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm next going to call upon Ambassador Kanchana, spokesperson of MFA Thailand. One sentence, secret to your success.
Happy International Women's Day. My secret to success is to always have friends, family, and team. Never walk alone. So thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Kun. Thank you, Ambassador Kanchana. Let me now invite Ambassador Sarah of Canada. Over to you, Ambassador.
Thank you, and happy International Women's Day to everyone. Bonne journée internationale de la femme. Several of my thoughts for my one sentence have already been taken, because last night, Kun Gita, at our reception, you talked about hard work, principles, and passion, which I think sums up a lot of what I was going to say. But at risk of repetition, my answer, my one sentence is friends. A network of friends. I think very important to draw on friends like our network of women ambassadors here and others like the cohort I joined our foreign ministry with, and fellow diplomats and others from across different segments of the society who I've met during my career. Through that, you form a network of friends who inspire you, who give you bright ideas you can steal, borrow, who help you when on the days when inevitably you're feeling down or you're feeling that you're not making progress, that they can pick you back up. So for all those reasons, I think having those friendships, as was just noted, is for me is really the secret to success. And I would add, I'm never a big believer in saying there are certain things that are innate only to women rather than men, but whether it's innate or through our societies, I do think many women in many societies grow up with a special skill for friendship and for developing those friendly bonds. And so I think it is something that for the young women who are here today, but I hope also for the young men, will develop this special skill, because friendships will help you in your career and in your life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm going to now invite Ambassador Millicent. In one sentence, your secret to success.
One sentence. Okay. So I've always been guided by the value of integrity, which for me is doing what is right even when nobody's looking. So I have been guided by that, and I think that will earn for you the respect of both your superiors and your subordinates, and that will make you an effective and esteemed leader. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And finally, I'm going to invite Ambassador Anna Maria of Colombia.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Women's Day. Feliz Día de la Mujer. I'm going to use Spanish here, as it's one of the official languages of the United Nations. It's always been my motto that perseverance and discipline make the difference between my dreams and the reality, and also to learn from experiences, even if those experiences have not been very positive. It is something that really helps you to succeed and to get to your objectives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. And thank you all for sharing your insights. These are small but extremely important steps towards greater gender equality, from never being alone, from never walking alone, network of friends, discipline, perseverance, integrity, and to be well prepared. And I'm going to add one last one, which I'm stealing from Ambassador Sibel. She said failure is a big is a big lesson, right? Sibel, you raised that. But anyway, thank you all. Thank you very much. And we are going to hand it back to our MC. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Ms. Sababal, for your excellent moderation of this fascinating session. And thank you, Your Excellencies, Ambassador Dr. McDonnell and Ambassador Exui, for supporting the Ambassador for a Day initiative. We are delighted to see the commitment and potential of our young leaders in advancing gender equality in the digital age. You are wonderful. Dear participants, this marks the end of our segment on the Ambassador for a Day initiative. May I invite our moderator and our speakers to take their seats in the audience, please. We will now commence our interactive dialogue on innovation and technology for gender equality. May I please invite our moderator and all speakers of the interactive dialogue to take their seats at the rostrum. Thank you. It is my distinct pleasure to invite Dr. Srinivas Tata, Director of the Social Development Division at ESCAP, to moderate this session. Our panel consists of experts and experienced practitioners from the private sector and civil society organizations who specialize in gender equality and technologies. We look forward to hearing their insights and recommended areas for action. Thank you for joining us today. Dr. Tata, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam MC. This is going to be a tough act to follow. I think after the inspirational words that we heard, not only from our youth ambassadors, but also from our ambassadors speaking from their personal experience. But I hope that I have an equally interesting panel with me here to really carry forward the momentum. And I'm delighted to moderate this panel discussion on DigitAll, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, to commemorate International Women's Day this year. Our panel is drawn from private sector, civil society, and we hope it will be supplemented with comments from representatives of governments and other stakeholders. The panelists will discuss some of the barriers which hinder women and girls from participating in a full and effective manner in digital spheres, as well as discuss how the region can harness digital transformation and technological innovation to benefit women and girls. As the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, said, digitalization is one of the two seismic shifts that will shape the 21st century. He also cautioned about its potential to widen inequalities. Even further, unless we mitigate this risk. In our region, the Asia-Pacific region, the digital gender gap is wide and it's widening, with only 54% of women having access to the internet. Women continue to be in the minority in ICT and STEM fields, as our Executive Secretary highlighted, and only 22% of professionals working in the field of AI are women, a factor that's been linked to the pervasiveness of harmful gender biases and misogynistic stereotypes in popular AI applications. So the discrimination faced by women and girls in public and private spheres linked to gender stereotypes and patriarchal notions are considered a root cause of the gender divide. For the panel discussion today, we will first hear an overview presentation, and then I'll introduce each panelist as we go along and ask them a question for which they'll have 5 minutes to respond to the first round, and then a second round of questions providing the panelists about 2 to 3 minutes to answer before opening up the floor. Let me start with the overview presentation. Last month, ESCAP and UN-Women jointly organized the Asia-Pacific Regional Consultations on the priority theme for the 67th session of the Commission on Social Development, on the Commission on Status of Women. The event convened representatives of member states, UN entities, and civil society to discuss and identify a set of recommendations on the priority theme linked to innovation and technological change and the contribution to gender equality. I'd like to invite Ms. Sai Sai, the Chief of the Gender Equality and Social Inclusion section of ESCAP, to deliver the overview presentation. Sai Sai, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let me start the presentation. Last month, on 8th and 9th February, 6 UN agencies come together, including ESCAP, UN-Women, ITU, UNDP, UNICEF, and UFPA, jointly organized the Asia-Pacific Regional Consultation on the theme of 67th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, focusing on innovation and technological change and education in the digital age for achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls. The meeting was attended by 300 participants, including representatives from 34 governments and over 100 civil society organizations. During the meeting, government, private sector, and civil society speakers focused on the challenges and opportunities posed by the digital revolution for achieving gender equality, particularly in relation to innovation, technological change, and education. They recognized the issues that impact women and girls in the Asia-Pacific region, including barriers to connectivity, the affordability of digital tools, the role of gender norms in limiting women and girls' access to and participation in STEM education and careers, as well as online gender-based violence. The Asia-Pacific Regional Consultation provided an opportunity for both state and non-state actors to take stock of current trends, needs, gaps in policy responses, and good practices, as well as to consider possible areas for joint interventions to address innovation, technological change, and education in the digital age toward gender equality. Through 2 days of a productive meeting, a set of policy recommendations were proposed to guide actions in the 4 thematic areas under the CSW 67 priority theme. I will now highlight some of the key recommendations. This is the first area. Participants at the consultation noted the widening gender gap in internet access in Asia and Pacific. They highlighted that guaranteeing meaningful connectivity and access to technology is of paramount importance if the gender digital divide is to be closed. Therefore, recommendations from this consultation focused on the need to ensure accessible, affordable, and adequate internet access to high-quality digital tools and resources for everyone by developing universal and community-based infrastructure. They also emphasized the importance of education innovations and interventions to increase digital literacy, enhance skills and capacity, with particular attention to women and girls, indigenous people, and other marginalized groups. Let's take a look at the second area, which focused on inclusive education in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that is STEM. At the consultation, participants discussed how STEM careers are in high demand in the 21st century. However, women and girls face barriers, including stereotypes that stop them from accessing technologies and impede them from becoming leaders in tech industries. The Asia-Pacific Regional Consultation recommendation focused on the need to build inclusive curricula and programs that can improve women and girls' skills, promote women's leadership in tech industry, and provide training and scholarships for women and girls who want to pursue STEM careers. Third area. The recommendation highlighted the need to create an environment where women and girls can be supported by enabling economic, labor, and social policies with adequate financing. Consultation recommendations also stressed the importance of partnerships between public, private, and civil society organizations to scale up the provision of accessible and affordable digital devices and access to digital and financial support to encourage women's innovation and entrepreneurship through incubator programs. This is the fourth and final area from the consultation recommendation. While technology holds huge potential to empower women and girls, it can pose an additional risk through online and technology-facilitated gender-based violence. Asia-Pacific Regional Consultation's recommendation centered on the need for comprehensive definition, regulatory guidelines, frameworks, and legislations on online and technology-facilitated gender-based violence. The recommendations also noted the importance of continuous data collection and analysis to strengthen monitoring and evaluation of the impact of current, ongoing, or implemented initiatives. The 67th session of the Commission on the Status of Women opened in New York on Monday, already opened. The regional consultation has provided with the participating governments with strong, action-oriented, and evidence-based recommendations to bring to the table for discussion and to the negotiation on the agreed conclusions. You are all encouraged to review the regional recommendations, which has been posted on ESCAP and UN-Women's event website, and consider how to engage in the implementation and follow-up to these recommendations. On International Women's Day and every day, we must continue to work together to achieve gender equality in the digital age. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sai, for your succinct yet comprehensive overview and for sharing some of the recommendations backed up by the data that forces us to reflect. And thank you very much, and setting the stage for the panel discussion. I now have the pleasure of introducing our first panelist, who is Ms. Rebecca Razavi. Ms. Razavi is LinkedIn's Regional Director of Public Policy and Economic Graph for the Asia-Pacific region. Ms. Razavi, you lead a multidisciplinary team working in partnerships with governments, multilateral organizations, and economic institutions. You have also worked as a Chief Operating Officer, and you oversee Australia's federal online safety, work with the online safety regulator. My question to you, Ms. Razavi, is that LinkedIn has published several reports around gender equity. Could you share some of the recent findings and how they could inform policymaking? Could you also share a little bit with us today as to how LinkedIn is leveraging its platform and partnerships to create a more equitable world of work? Over to you, Rebecca.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Tata. And let me start by thanking ESCAP and UN-Women for hosting us today. It's been a wonderful discussion this morning. I'm very happy to share some insights from LinkedIn. And many of you hopefully will know LinkedIn is the world's largest professional networking platform. And we're very committed to a vision of creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce, and really trying to facilitate a world of work that is sustainable, resilient, and of course, equitable. We do that through our platform itself, but we also do that through the insights that we gather. We've got over 900 million members worldwide, 264 million plus of those in the Asia-Pacific region. So that gives us some unique and real-time insights about what's happening in the economy. And we work with partners across government, international organizations, to share that information and help inform policies, whether that's on the future of work or most particularly about gender equity. So what are some of those trends that we're seeing? Well, LinkedIn's data tells us a very clear picture, and that is that the world of work isn't working for women as well as it is for men. We've heard some of those reflections this morning, but it's very evident to us in our data. Women remain severely underrepresented in leadership roles. They account for less than a third of leadership roles worldwide across most countries. Just to give you a little flavor of some of that, within our region, 33% of leadership positions in Australia, 42% in the Philippines, and 19% in India. We know from examining that data a little more carefully that women face a very limited window of opportunity. And if they don't reach a leadership position within the first 10 years of their career, they're much less likely than men to make it later on. So we can begin to see where some of these inequities are creeping in. This is true across all industry levels. That trend exists, and there's no industry in which there's parity at leadership level. Even in those industries like education, for example, where women are dominant within the wider workforce. And that's particularly prevalent, as we've heard also this morning, in the technology sector. So in software and IT services, women make up just 32% of the workforce and just 24% of leadership positions. In terms of STEM and women in STEM careers, we've launched some new research this week, specifically for the Committee on Status of Women 67, really trying to look at that next stage of where we see some of that other further inequity coming in terms of women in STEM. And we've analyzed millions of LinkedIn profiles to understand that transition from STEM degrees to STEM employment. And we find that the largest drop-off occurs between graduation and the first year of employment, with a 10 percentage point widening of that gender STEM gap. So there's something very specific going on at that transition point. This underrepresentation that we see at these various levels leads us to be able to at least identify where there are some specific points to address the blockages and build some solutions. In terms of what we're doing ourselves on our platform, we are really looking carefully about where we can find ways to build products that facilitate the world of work for women. And we do that in a number of ways. We know that women prize flexibility, and we can see that very clearly. It was very dominant during the pandemic, where women were looking for remote roles in carrying that sort of dual burden in their work and in their personal lives. And we see that perpetuating. Recent research we did in India, for example, shows that women were 19% more likely to apply to a remote job than men. And we see that statistic played out elsewhere as well. So what can we do, for example, from a technology point of view in our own platform? Well, one thing we've done is produce a tool which allows you to search for roles that are remote or hybrid. So you can immediately try to identify those roles which meet your working needs. And you can advertise those roles in that way as well. We also know that there are other aspects of career flexibility for women, and we've created a product which reflects breaks from work on your LinkedIn profile. There's not necessarily a linear career progression, and we know that can be particularly the case for women, and we want to be able to show that in a way which normalizes career flexibility. We also have products for many, many companies that we serve to allow them to look at gender data so that they can be managing gender progression within their workforces and have workforce gender representation improved. And also at the very first hurdle of recruitment, we've put in place measures so that when you're looking for a pool of talent, we make sure that the bias is taken out at even that search stage. Alongside that, we have partnerships, and we heard this morning from Chai Chai the really important finding that we need to have these partnerships together. And we work closely with UN-Women. We have a partnership in India and Maharashtra State, working with thousands of students, giving them entrepreneurial skills in particular, coming out of vocational and industrial technology institutes. So really trying to take what we know about where those gaps are and taking them right down to programs designed with that in mind. We also understand the power of our platform itself, and we try to amplify the voices of women. I know we talked a little bit, one of our youth ambassadors mentioned hashtags, or it was on one of our videos. There is a hashtag on LinkedIn at the moment for Embrace Equity, and that's really to encourage for International Women's Day, sharing experience. Share your actions of how you've embraced equity in the work that you do. And we know that amplifying voices of women leaders really helps create those role models which are needed to inspire and motivate the next generation coming on. Not just the next generation, but inspire each other in what we do. So really we're trying to take that data and turn that into defined programs where we work with partners to create meaningful impact.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, I think you've really covered that. A lot of ground in your first intervention. Allows me to come back later to you, perhaps, for you to tell us what you expect from us, from policymakers and people in the international agency and multilateral agencies. You also reflected how important the data that you have with you is to identify specific intervention points that would really help us policymakers. Thank you very much, Rebecca. Now I'd like to move on to our second panelist, who is going to join us online. Her name is Ms. Kirti Jayakumar, who's the founder of the Gender Security Project and the CRSV Observatory. Ms. Jayakumar works in spaces of feminist foreign policy, women, peace and security, and strives to use tech for gender equality. She's a member of UN-Women's 30 for 2030, an initiative which aims to support young representatives to develop innovative gender equality solutions. Ms. Jayakumar, you worked extensively on tech for gender equality, including preventing online violence, an issue that's been raised by a number of youth ambassadors. As a Youth for 2030 member, what are some of the barriers you see that are hindering young women and girls' full and effective participation in digital spheres? And what role can youth play in increasing women and girls' participation? Over to you, Kirti.
Thank you very much for this question, Dr. Srinivas, and thank you, ESCAP and UN-Women, for this space to share and learn. I will start by talking about two barriers before I move into the role of the youth. Now, the biggest barrier is accessibility. The International Telecom Union suggests that the digital gender gap continues to expand in the world's many developing countries. Globally, in 2022, 62% of men were using the internet, as opposed to just 57% of women. Only 19% of women in least developed countries have used the internet in 2020, compared to 86% in the developed world in 2019. Now, this yawning gap reflects both a disparity between men and women, a disparity among women across the world, and virtually no data on non-binary people and their access to the internet. Now, accessibility is complex, and it's complicated by factors like caste, race, ability, and migrant status, among a range of other things, which work with gender to produce unique experiences. Now, a very curious phenomenon, for example, that I noticed happening in semi-urban and rural areas in India is a phenomenon of the husband's phone and the wife's phone. Now, in several households, the husband's phone is a typical internet-capable smartphone, which can use everything that is available in the form of apps or in the form of the internet through a browser. But the woman's phone or the wife's phone is oftentimes a basic device that can at the most make and receive calls, and sometimes only receive calls. Now, a second major barrier is the rampancy of gender-based violence and discrimination online. As a public place, the internet continues to import into its spaces the prejudices, the patriarchy, the misogyny, and heteronormativity that thrives and exists in offline public spaces. Women and girls also carry their invisible portfolios of being women and girls in cyberspace. So this means that they are vulnerable to discrimination based on gender. And this discrimination hits them with the added cloak of anonymity. Because at any given time, any two users online are separated by two devices and yawning stretches of cyberspace, even if they are within the same premises or public transportation. Now, I believe that the youth are already addressing these challenges, whether it is in calling for systemic change and holding authorities in power accountable, or by democratizing access online to online spaces through innovative solutions and change-making efforts. There's a lot that young people are bringing to the table to shift the paradigm. Now, at the 30 for the 2030 network, which I've had the honor and privilege of being part of, we consider ending online gender-based violence a significant priority, cutting across all the diverse areas we individually work in. Several of us are working both in individual and collective capacity to prevent and address OGBV. So we created a toolkit to support survivors, bystanders, and allies on addressing OGBV, and we would love for young people and people in positions of power to use the toolkit to create a feminist internet. Personally, I work in the space of women, peace and security and feminist foreign policy, and I see the internet as the new frontier for youth-led feminist engagements to create safe and brave spaces for not just the youth, but all generations using the internet. I believe that the women, peace and security and the youth, peace and security agenda can be applied to creating these safe and brave spaces on the internet. We have a lot of work to do to unlearn the prejudices and biases with which we're arriving to the internet, and to sow seeds for the futures that we dream of building together. But as the youth, we have the energy and the solutions for it. Please listen to us.
Kirti, we will listen to you, we'll go on listening to you, and despite the small glitches in connectivity, I think you showed how you could overcome them. You were wonderful, and I think I'll come back to you on your expectations from us in supporting your work on prevention of online violence against women. I have now the honor to turn to our last panelist in this first round, who is Ms. Ria C., who has co-founded She Loves Tech, a global platform committed to closing the funding gap for women in the world of technology. C is a mentor to women tech entrepreneurs and has been recognized by the World Economic Forum as a global shaper. She has also advised governments, venture capital funds, as well as multinational corporations. Ms. C, considering your extensive involvement in women's economic and business organizations, what policies do you see have the greatest impact on reducing the gender digital divide and promoting technology and entrepreneurship for women? Over to you, Ria.
Thank you so much. Thank you, UN-Women and ESCAP, for having me. Happy International Women's Day to everyone here, to all the allies, to all the fellow women in this room and the young people in this room. It's a day to celebrate, but also really reflect on some of the things that we could do a little bit more of as we continue on this exponential journey that we're on with technology. Before anything, I'd like to preface my sharing by saying that technology is no longer vertical, right? We shouldn't treat it as a separate issue or a separate matter to address and deal with. It's a horizontal that affects all aspects of our lives right now, and it's in all sectors, all industries, and it's something that we must include and integrate into our development plans. Right? And the moment that we realize this is the moment that we realize that we need to apply a gender lens approach in reducing the gender digital divide, but not just in technology, but across the board. And with that, we really need to look at the systems and the various sectors and the various issues that affect women as they go on to the workplace, not just into tech. So how can we empower the current generation of women to use technology and leverage technology and start businesses, while at the same time, how can we create an entire new generation of young women who can also leverage tech and build businesses and innovate and continue to change the way that we live? Governments play a big role in all of this. To start, governments with clear women tech agendas and initiatives also set a clear signal to the rest of their constituents, the other departments, entire society, that this is a serious matter that everyone needs to do something about, right? So at She Loves Tech, we've worked with the Chinese government quite significantly. In fact, when we started 9 years ago, they were our first supporters, the Beijing government, Beijing Women's Federation, and they have been supporting us since then. But a few years ago, they launched a central initiative, a Women in Tech initiative, which during the two-party assembly that happens every year, and with that, it really signaled that this is something on the agenda. This is a goal that they must include in all aspects of their national development plans. And shortly after that, different central agencies, ministries came together to then create an initiative around this, putting together budgets and programs to be able to launch several years of program. Singapore is also an example. We've worked with the Infocom Media Development Authority there to do their Women in Tech initiative, where they've really identified women in tech and women in science and put them on spotlight to really highlight role models, right, to set a precedent for people when they hire, right, regardless of gender, for young girls when they look for jobs, and as well as really for women starting businesses. This also set a signal to the rest of the startup ecosystem that they need to create policies, they need to create funding, capital, and set aside budgets to invest in women. So regardless of governments, regardless of countries, when you have governments at the top telling you that this is important, it creates a trickle-down effect and allows governments to have a top-down approach while also collaborating straight at the grassroots with the private sector to address the challenges and tap on expertise of maybe those that they don't know about. Another thing that was mentioned by my fellow panelists earlier is that the world of work is not working for women as much as men. And really, to address the digital divide, we must also change work structures. The last couple of years with COVID, luckily, allowed us to tap into this further, and the accelerated use of digital tools and the internet to conduct work has been a positive shift in the way that we work with people, we hire people, building our teams and how we work as teams as well in the workplace. And the moment that we provide more flexibility, we implement policies like paternity leaves, remote from work rather, and work from home. This allows women to have more time, right? To have more time to not just take care of work, but also perhaps take care of their families. This also allows men to share some of the workload in the household. The moment you give time to women, that's the only time they can actually build businesses and dive into pursuing different careers that they otherwise wouldn't have. So changing work structures and implementing policies at corporate levels, governments incentivizing companies to be able to do the same is very crucial for us to actually bridge the gender divide. Finally, capital is really important. At She Loves Tech, our goal is to close the funding gap. And whenever people ask me this question on how to close the funding gap, to be honest, I can say a lot of things, but truly the only way to close it is to fund it, right? Right now, we started 9 years ago, and the funding gap at that time was at 2%. Right now, it's still 2%. In fact, last year, there was a report, I think, that said that it was 1.9%. So we're not even progressing, right? Despite the increased awareness of how important it is to have diversity in the workplace, to have diversity in tech, we're still not moving the needle in terms of funding. And the moment that we can fund women, put aside budgets, put women in leadership in these funding decisions, that's the only time we can really make a significant wave and change in terms of bridging the gender divide and building technologies that enable women, empowerment, include women in decision making, and new technologies that can actually change gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ria, highlighting your experience in including women's economic entrepreneurship as part of national development plans, and example of how you worked with China and Singapore. Perhaps I'll come back to you to ask later about how exactly do you convince governments? I mean, what's the process? Help us go on to the second round, and which will be a much shorter round. And I would ask Rebecca very much the first question on this round, as in terms of a wrap-up, what would you ask for from, we have governments here, we have other partners. In 2 minutes, could you tell us what is your ask from them? What do you need to do in order to, to move the needle forward?
That's quite a big ask.
Yes. I'm giving you the floor.
Thank you. So I think we talked a bit about this structural inequity in work. So one thing we really do see is that taking what we call a skills-first approach opens up the pool of talent pipeline for women in a very significant way. It deals with all sorts of inequities in talent identification, but it really means when you're looking for people for roles, you are looking at their skills and not just other characteristics of prior work, etc. And that the data is very strong in terms of showing how much that opens the pool for women. There are other structural things there. I've touched on the need to measure. So what we can't solve what we don't know. So using our data insights, which is something that technology empowers us to do, is really critical in policy making. And just turning to some of the points Ria was making, when we think about those structural moments in the workplace, we know there's the entry point inequities that creep in. So there are very specific things that everybody can do in that context to hire more equitably, whether that's looking at sort of gender balance panels or the sorts of benefits that are provided. And then at that middle rank, which I talked about, where we see that drop off, everybody can put in place better schemes to try to think how they manage that talent coming through there, including thinking about, is that because of skills gaps, and how can you look specifically about upskilling women in some of those areas that are needed, because we know that the proportion of skills, particularly tech skills, is changing so rapidly for many roles. I think in addition to that, designing products, and this is on all of us, from public to private, that really think about the issues of women and diversity more broadly in mind. I gave you some examples of how we're looking at that. And of course, keeping our digital spaces safe. It is right that that's a theme that's come up in the consultations that you had, and I think it's incumbent on all of us to think about how we do that from a technology point of view, and to be very mindful about that design. I also just think it's important for us to make sure that we are inspiring women, and inspiring girls in particular, to be fearless in creating, engaging, working, and kind of boldly going out into digital spaces. This should be a co-owned, and I know there are the barriers, and we've talked about them, but it's important for us to talk about what a wonderful opportunity that holds for everybody. And I think it's a fantastic example here today with the youth ambassadors, where we're really understanding how we can claim for the future of women and girls their rightful place in that digital world, and collaboration is really key to that. And I'm very proud of the partnerships we actually have across this panel, but building public, private, and civil society partnerships together.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rebecca. You've whetted our appetite really also to attend the afternoon consultation, where you're going to go into many of these issues much more deep. And let me then reach out to Kirti, our second panelist online. Kirti, this is your chance in 2 minutes to tell us what governments as well as international organizations, how can we work with youth better in order to address some of the concerns, including preventing online violence against women?
Thank you. I think the most significant way to strengthen innovation in tech for gender equality is to enhance and enable wholesome, substantive participation of women and girls and non-binary people. Women and girls fundamentally come in with perspectives that have not been incorporated so far when it comes to policy making or law making, or even just innovating in tech. Their participation even in cybersecurity policy making can go a long way to build safer spaces on the internet. So without their participation, the policies that we have in place speak only to the lived experiences of a very small section of the world. So when I say participation, I don't just mean tokenized participation. It isn't about adding women and youth and stirring the mix, but about building capacity and strengthening their substantive and wholesome participation. Bring their perspectives in on issues that concern them, definitely, but on the larger issues in which their citizenship and their viewpoints can bring in unique and innovative perspectives to create change. I think this would be my hope and wish to see for the future. And I do see that already happening with the 30 for 2030 network. Hopefully other actors also find it fit to bring in more youth perspectives into the picture.
Thank you very much, Kirti. And we will keep your strong voice in mind and your message. Ria, I would like to reach out to you and to say, I think you've shown some very strong examples, but can you tell us what needs to be in place for these to work? I mean, you worked with governments. What made you kind of push the envelope? What enabled you to do that?
I feel like a lot of things allowed for that to happen. If I may answer that question, I think first is data, right? I remember when we started this journey, I spoke to my old boss, who just so happened to be a private equity investor, and I told him about what we were planning to do. And the first thing he said was, I don't invest in women. And when he said that, he didn't say it in a condescending manner, nor did he say it in a mean way, but he just said it as a fact. And with that, what do you say? It was the end of the conversation. There's nothing to say. But at the moment, I realized that we needed to show successful case studies, right? There's no way to go at it wall to wall and fight with these people, because fundamentally they just don't understand the concept. And you need to show them that how is this different, how it's going to make their business better if that's what they care about, how it'll bring them returns, how it's going to be enable the governments to have a more developed society and so on. And so we've created a global startup competition, right, which started from one country to now 70 plus countries. And we've built the largest pipeline of female tech founders in the world right now. These women are building payment solutions, allowing the unbanked and the unconnected to conduct transact in financial transactions. You also have voice AI technologies, converting inaudible speech to audible speech. You have global glass solar panels and many others. And these are the types of solutions that we need for the world right now, right? These are the technologies that solve our greatest challenges. Not to mention, these are what investors care about right now. These are the so-called trends that people want to put in money. And so showing them what women are capable of, providing that stage for women to show the types of businesses that they're doing and how that affects society and the problems that we're trying to solve has allowed us to be able to talk a little bit, and move the needle when talking to governments as well as the private sector and gaining their support.
Thank you very much, Ria, for your very succinct response. And I'm sure you've given us a lot of food for thought. I'm acutely aware of time. I think we've kept very well to time, but I know we have a busy schedule ahead. I'd like to reach out to a few comments from the floor. And I would like to note that we have in attendance here the Honorable Ambassador from Finland, and I would like to invite him to take the floor and make his comments, please. Ambassador Harvio, please.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for ESCAP and UN-Women for organizing today's wonderful event. This is really inspiring for all of us, and thank you, my fellow ambassadors, also supporting and inspiring younger generation, and congratulations for all the youth ambassadors for today. Also, this topic is very important for Finland, of course, because we are a co-lead of the Generation Equality Action Coalition on Technology and Innovation for Gender Equality. Today, the importance of digitalization, innovation, and the use of technology cannot be overemphasized, including recognizing the importance of advancing gender equality and finding solutions to overcome the inequalities and discrimination. Digital technology can create new solutions responding to women and girls in their diversity and empower women and girls, as well as marginalized groups. At the same time, we are aware of the many existing barriers that still prevail globally, including the gender digital divide, underrepresentation of women and girls in STEM education and careers, and the pervasive threat of online gender-based violence and discrimination. And in this regard, I think it's quite important to remember to educate men and boys as well. We must also invest in gender transformative technology and innovations. Promoting gender equality and advancing education, technology, and innovation score high in the Finland's agenda. Building on our own experience as a digital leader, we want to make sure that all women and girls have the possibility to enjoy digital opportunities in full. Reducing the digital divide helps to strengthen the right to participation, access to information, and other universal human rights. New technologies can offer education and services even in remote places. This, of course, requires right technologies, but also digital literacy. The commitments that Finland has made under Generation Equality Action Coalition on Technology and Innovation are progressing both at the national and international level. On national level, for example, Finland is pleased to see progress in a number of undertakings in reaching the gender gap in STEM fields and inclusion of prevention of online violence in the National Action Plan for Combating Violence Against Women. With collective multi-stakeholder partnerships and actions, we can overcome challenges and deliver concrete and lasting change for gender equality. I would also like to invite all the different stakeholders to join the work of Generation Equality as commitment makers. Innovation and digital technology can and will open new doors and opportunities for gender equality, as we have heard today, and equal opportunities for all. thank you very much for this opportunity to celebrate the International Women's Day together with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. I think you stressed the importance of involving men and boys, and it was so great to hear the perspective from a male ambassador, so it's great to hear from you too. So, are there any other requests for the floor at this stage? Anyone else with any comment to make urgently? I think we have a young person sitting at the board back. Yeah, I know. Could you identify yourself?
Hi, I am a youth advocate and I'm a woman. I'm working with youth organization on how we can empowering women and girls and using innovation and digital technology to help the youth in our area. So thank you very much for giving me the floor here to speak, and it was a great discussion in the opening for all your great presentations. And so first, what we want to do is that we are unleashing women and girls' potential in our technology era. And what I would like to highlight here in our work on our experience that we have been working with women is that we have open source. So we are developing open source communities where women and girls actually share our codes for developer and sharing our experience of how what we have done and share it to the community that other people can also use it as well. So NGOs, and organization, SME, and everyone in our society have a chance to be able to use them. And with this in mind, that I am that woman like us, that I am not only a youth representative, but we can be the ears of the deaf, we can be the eyes of the blind, we can be all the breath of the living things, because we are actually inventing innovations and technology to help every one of us in order to live with AI. And this is only possible with AI and women, because we are the power and we are in the hand of the future. So we are calling for a lot of collaborations that we can be made with youth organization, with women partnership, and I will really grateful to hear all of your voices about how we can empower women economically in technology, as well as that we can hear from LinkedIn members and we can hear from She Loves Tech Innovation, and we see that it was very excellent. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your really inspiring statement, and it is wonderful to see you so engaged so specifically, and we really look forward to a shining success for you and a lot of people joining you, and we all want to support you in this, I'm sure. I don't see any other hands requesting for the floor. May I request a round of applause, not only for this panel, for the two previous panelists and speakers of the two previous panels for making this such an engaging, and really interesting International Women's Day ceremony. I think it was truly inspiring. And thank you very much to all for sitting through this with us and really learning from this. Thank you very much. Over to you, Madam MC.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedda, for moderating this fruitful dialogue. And may we also appreciate the inputs of all speakers, your invaluable inputs. Excellencies, distinguished participants, this marks the conclusion of our Asia-Pacific Regional Commemoration for International Women's Day 2023 under the theme Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Thank you very much to everyone, both online and in person, for joining this important event. I'm told we were joined by a large number of online participants, a true testament to the importance of this commemoration and the topical theme discussion. It's our pleasure to invite participants for refreshments just outside this conference room. And after the lunch hour at 1 p.m., you are also cordially invited to the GenderNet Bootcamp that Ms. Nips referred to earlier. It is a collaboration between UN-Women, ESCAP LinkedIn, the 30 for 2030 network, where digital transformation and inclusion experts will offer a tech-aspire learning and exchange space targeting youth, and the bootcamp will take place in meeting room A. Many thanks once again, and warm wishes for a continued wonderful International Women's Day.
Intention